The premiere to Survivor 50 might be legitimately the best episode of Survivor I have ever freaking seen. And guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to smack that subscribe button and let's go over this episode, shall we? The episode starts off with a very swag montage of a bunch of very classic Survivor moments. Like when Boston Rob proposed to Jeff, when he proposed to Amber, and when Joe was very swag and helped out Eve. And then we get a shot of all of the players walking to the plane to get to the island 450, and holy moly, in the words of Rizzo, it was cinema. And then we head to all of the bozos on a boat. And then Mr. Devon says, this is an iconic season full of icons. I don't know about that, bro. You got freaking Tiffany on. And then Angelina says it's like the Super Bowl because there's a bunch of freaking commercials. And then Q the cutie says this is his chance to become a legend. Q. You already are, buddy boy. You're one of the biggest new era legends to ever exist, pal. And then Stephanie says it's gonna be a bloodbath. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm no hygienist, but I'm pretty sure it's not a good idea to use blood instead of water in your bathtub. And then Jeff Probst says, who has what it takes to out-cringe, out-advantage, out-sob story, all of the rest. This is Survivor 50 in the hands of the celebrities. And then all of them arrive to Jeff, and Jeff does a very cringe welcoming.
Let's go!
Jeff, that was not it, pal. Let's get some new material. And then Stephanie gets the first confessional of the season, and she says it's surreal because she hasn't played in over 30 seasons. And did somebody put Stephanie in a cryogenic chamber after her last season? Cause it looks like she hasn't aged a freaking day, bro. And then Michael Stupid says it's a high school reunion meets a bloodbath. And I think Rizzo's still in high school, actually. And then Jeff Probst does his normal yappity yapping up an absolute storm. And then Jeff says they turned the entire show over to the fans. Jeff, when the heck did us fans get to decide if Mr. Beast was on the island or not, buddy? And then Jeff Arumsky asks Jenna Lewis how she's doing because they haven't spoken to each other since 1943. And then she yaps for a little bit, but let's be honest, it doesn't really matter considering what happened later in the episode. And then Jeff's like, Devins, you had to find 93 idols in your season because you're freaking trash at the game. How do you feel about that, buddy? Did you vote for idols to come back because you're such a trash dog water player? And Devin said, actually, I voted for no idols.
And everybody was like, stop the cat, buddy, you're lying, you no good salamander.
And then Jeff's like, Suri, what could you possibly say that you haven't said in any of the other 14 seasons you've been in? And Suri really embraces the new era of Survivor because the first things that come out of her mouth is a big sob story get over it, bud. And then Jeff says, Coach, I need a coachism, which might be a racial slur, I'm not sure. But then Coach says, let's go out there and slay some dragons. And you best believe I was hipping and hollering when bro said that. And then we get the tribes. The purple tribe consists of Jenna Queen, Q the Cutie, the Wicked Witch of Korong, Riz Dork, Stephanie LaGrosse, Kyle Crocodile, can I have your jacket, and the Chocolate Man. The Teal tribe consists of, I want to say it starts with a T, Mike Really White, the Dragon Slayer, Camilla the Killer, Jacked Jonathan, the Homewrecker, Taylor Swift Fan 4923, and Chrissy Missy. And the Orange Tribe consists of Rick Devins, Savannah Banana, The First Boot, Jolly Joe, Swag Suri, Christian, Oscar the Grouch, and Flippin' Emily. And then Jeff says the fans voted for them having to earn rice and earn supplies. What the heck, fans? And then Camilla the Killer absolutely freaking sucks at the first challenge of the season causing her tribe to fail because she is a big bozo. Yeah, but the purple tribe won, good for them. And they won their flint, but then Jeff says in order to win their tribe supplies, each member is going to have to pick one person to go do a task to try to get their supplies. The Teal tribe chooses Coach, and the Orange tribe chooses, wait, Ozzy? Uh-oh, it's South Pacific all over again. Oh, and Q is going to be the third will. And then Rizstork's like, wow, I can't believe I get to play with all these legendary, epic, awesome people. And all I freaking did was not play an idol. This is amazing. And we first head to the purple tribe that won the giant mega bonfire. And then Angelina said she's became a mom since last playing and isn't going to do all the goofy bozo wacko stuff like try to steal people's jackets and whatnot. Well, then get the freaking heck off the show, buddy. I want to see the old Angelina. And then Stephanie says she was mega super duper happy to see Colby on her tribe because they work together in heroes versus villains and she knows she can trust him and they have an unspoken bond. And then Colby delivered one of the freaking hardest one-liners I've ever heard in my lifetime.
This is my pace.
He ate and left no crumbs. Go, girl! And then Stephanie and Colby talk, and they both say they like Rizzo and Genevieve, but then Colby says that Rizzo is annoying as heck. I freaking love Colby, bro. This man's been on an island with Rizzo for about, give or take 5 minutes now, and he's already saying that he doesn't freaking shut up. Oh my god. And then we head to the Teal tribe. And then Dee says she loves to wipe her butt with leaves. I'm not even making that up. That's literally what she says in the confessional, just with like more vulgarity. And Charlie is super happy to have Jonathan on his tribe and refers to him as the Man Mountain. That is kind of sus, not gonna lie. And plot twist, Mike White is actually ripped out of his mind. I'm not gonna lie, why the heck do we need an entire segment on Mike White's muscles? Did he freaking pay off the production team for this? And then Mike White talks to Charlie and literally he just says like, me no smart, you be me brain. And then in the confession he's like, guys, I was actually just acting more dumb so he wouldn't see me as a threat. Like, yeah, that was the most freaking obvious thing in the entire world, Mike. And then Chrissy's like, Mike, White Lotus is the best show to ever exist. I'm actually going to name my next child White Lotus just for you, Mike. And then Mr. Mike has a sob story about being a multi-millionaire. I'm sorry, am I supposed to feel sad for him right now? And then we head to the Orange tribe. And then Joe says, wow, guys, I love my tribe. What a well-rounded crew. And, Joe, not gonna lie, only you can get away with saying some dork stuff like that and me not thinking you're cringe, buddy, not gonna lie. And then Jenna said as soon as she saw the flag on a beach, she almost peed herself. Hopefully she doesn't go to beaches regularly, because I think that's just like a normal freaking thing. And then Savannah drops the bomb when the rest of her tribe saying she did indubitably win her season. And then they all have to act surprised, even though they freaking already knew that based on all of the pre-season interviews, you freaking lying buckarooskies. And then Jenna says that Savannah must have did something really ginormous to get here. May I remind you of Tiffany, Jenna? And about, I don't know, 3.5 minutes of Jenna being on the freaking island, she's immediately throwing out Tariq's name. Brother, you haven't even freaking lost the challenge yet. What are we doing here, pal? And she freaking tells this to everyone on her tribe. I'm honestly kind of shocked she didn't freaking say it to Tariq. And then we head to the 3 dudes fighting for their tribe supplies. And Coach and Ozzy reunite, holy moly. And then Coach says that him and Ozzy have some major history because they were in South Pacific together and Coach was at the final 3 and Ozzy was gonna make sure that Coach didn't get the money. And then Ozzy's like, man, I'm so sorry I didn't help you win that season, man. I really think you deserve that win. And then Coach goes, no, man, I was a horrible loser. It was more than me, dude. I'm sorry too. Man, it seems like they already handled all of their issues. Wow, I really hope neither one of them does something really stupid to, damage that. And then Shambo says he really hopes that him and Coach can squash whatever beef they have. And they gotta do a challenge. They gotta collect 3 bundles of sticks and then make a stick contraption to reach this key. But the twist is they're all going for the same key. Whoever gets the key wins the supplies. And it all comes down to the key section. And this freaking key part lasts so long that Q hits us with a freaking SpongeBob time lapse.
35 minutes later.
And then Ozzy finally freaking knocks the key off there and he gets so happy and then Coach freaking steals it from him after they just squashed the beef. And then it says, once the winner leaves, then the 2 losers flip this over and read the next part together and then freaking Coach just starts mocking them before he leaves. And then it says, welcome to Exile Island. As a penalty for losing, you will not return to your camp today. They have to sleep on this doo-doo island. And Q is not happy because Ozzy is not his type. And then we head back to the Teal tribe and Coach is bringing back his supplies. And his tribe is super duper ecstatic that he got the supplies. And then Jonathan says in a confessional that he's happy that Coach got the supplies, but like, what the freak is he wearing in this confessional? And then they see that Coach has a toe ring, and he's like, yeah, I've had it on my foot for the last 50 years of my life. And then he freaking pits it on Charlie's toe. That's freaking disgusting. And then Chris is like, guys, stop talking and having fun. Where the freak is the strategy yet, eh? Chrissy, it's the freaking first day. You haven't even lost a challenge yet, buddy. How about you relax for 2 seconds, pal? And then there was a showman's brewing between Christian and Rick Devens. Also, why is Jeff calling Christian Hubicki now? Like, did anyone else notice that? Like, what is happening? And then there's a whole freaking montage when Rick Devens and Christian are just freaking glazing each other. And then they start making gang signs. And then Devens brings Emily Flippin into their alliance. And then we head back to the Purple Tribe. And then Colby and Kyle talk about creating an alliance with them, Genevieve and Stephanie, and they need 1 more person to have the majority. And then Kyle drops a bomb. He says, this is not chess, this is not poker, this is people. Facts, Kyle, facts. Actually, I think it's actually survived. And then Genevieve says that she has this tight connection with Kyle that she didn't have with anyone from her old season, which makes a lot of sense considering her freaking #1 ally was Rome. And then Kobe's like, yo, Genevieve, just so you know, if we're gonna work together, my left ear is no good. If you talk to me, I ain't gonna hear it cuz of. And then Aubrey has the freaking weirdest conversation with Genevieve I've ever heard in my entire freaking life. I mean, she makes this conversation so utterly awkward, it's not even funny. I'm sorry, I thought Aubrey was supposed to be good at Survivor. What the freak is happening? And then we head to Exile Island with Ozzy and Q. And Q is yelling at Jeff in the sky. Q, I don't think he's up there. And they finally get to leave, but there is a twist. One of them is going to lose their vote, but get their tribe supplies, and the other one is going to gain an extra vote. And Ozzy takes the extra vote, and Q decides to lose his vote but have the supplies. And Q heads back to his tribe, and they are all very happy that he got his supplies. But he tells a little bit of a lie. He says that him and Ozzy had to do another challenge to get it, so he doesn't want them to know he lost his vote. But then he actually does tell Kyle in secret that he lost his vote because they are home dogs. And then we head back to the Orange Tribe, and since they don't have their freaking supplies, Christian's just like, you know what? I'm gonna freaking make a fire with my glasses. And bro freaking made a fire with his glasses. Ain't no way. And then Christian freaking drops an absolute bomb saying that his wife gave birth to his son 6 weeks before coming here, and that's his secret weapon, because he's going to be playing way harder for his child. And then the weatherman Rick Devens tells Sari about how Jenna's been throwing out her name to literally anything with a pulse. And she's just like, man, what the crappity wappity. And then Ozzy and Sari make this duo alliance thingamajigger, and then Ozzy tells Sari that he did indeed get an extra vote. And then we head to the Purple Tribe, and they're doing a goofy fashion show with Genevieve showing off her famous jacket, And then Kyle doing whatever the freak this is. And then Kobe's like, man, I was wrong about that Rizzo kid. He's really funny and he's really just a good kid. And then Kobe tells Rizzo, if you need someone to talk to, come talk to me. And I'm sorry, but I can't help laugh at Rizzo's response, bro.
My dad's 47. And my parents beat everything to me, man.
And then we head back to the Teal tribe, and holy moly, Swagbird is back, baby! And Coach is doing Coach things. And then Jonathan says he knows that he has to be more strategic this go around. So then he tells Mike Wazowski he wants to vote off Dee because she's super duper scary with her giant nasty feet. And then Coach tells Jonathan he will never, ever betray him in the game. Okay. And then Dee and Tiffany talk about how happy they are to be on the same tribe. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this is actually the first freaking time they've even showed Tiffany on the screen. I forgot she was part of the show. And then Tiffany says she's a chatty Patty, even though the saying's chatty Kathy, so like she's just a knucklehead, not gonna lie. And then Tiffany says she also wants to work with Camilla de Killa. She's above your pay grade, buddy. And then Camilla says she wants to slaughter people. There's a lot of murder talk in this episode, and it's kind of concerning, not gonna lie. And then we head to the immunity challenge, and freaking Kyle breaks his foot on the challenge like an absolute dingus. This has gotta be freaking racist. First Bruce, now Kyle. Something ain't adding up, pal. Yeah, but anyway, Cerie's tribe loses because she can't manage to throw a ball straight. I don't know what the freaking problem is. Yeah, but the orange tribe are the big bozos, so we're gonna have to vote someone off. And then Savannah says that her watching Cerie do the challenge was the most embarrassing thing she's ever seen in Survivor. Did she not watch Sage and Christina try to do freaking strategic stuff last season? And then Christian's like, I'm not the football guy, but hey, we should start using steroids. Yeah, but it's pretty freaking obvious that Jenna's gonna go home because she's playing way too freaking hard, way too fast, buddy. Yeah, but Jenna goes home in a freaking unanimous vote because she's an absolute goober Bob McGee. Guys, if you made it this far in the video, put down in the comments that Jenna is not very epic sauce. Yeah, but then for some reason, after the freaking vote off, we still have more Survivor to watch. I'm very confused. And Genevieve finds an advantage. The note starts off, hey, it's Billie Eilish, and I'm not gonna freaking lie, I almost threw up in my mouth when she read that. But pretty much how the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol works is she has to give it to someone else on a different tribe, and if that person is voted out with the idol in their pocket, that Genevieve gets the idol. This is so freaking... And Genevieve decides to give her idol to Mr. Oscar the Grouch. So now bro has an idol and an extra vote. And he finds the idol and he is mega moy happy. And then we have a journey. And this is the freaking worst part of the episode by far. This is the stupidest journey in Survivor history. I'm gonna skip past it. All you need to know is that Savannah now has a blockade vote. And then unfortunately the Jeff Storino shows up to the purple camp. And they tell Kyle he has to leave the game. And it is super duper sad. And then Kyle tells his entire tribe and says it's been a pleasure working with them and playing the game with them. And I'm not gonna lie, I cried watching the scene. It's so freaking sad, bro. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be the end of this video. If you guys thought this premiere was an absolutely freaking banger premiere, so make sure to smack that like button and subscribe. And guys, comment down below what you thought about the premiere, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.